Shalom everyone, welcome. It's a pleasure to see everybody here tonight. Thank everyone for coming. There's a joke that my rabbi back in White Lake always tells. With this week's Parshat we read about the different holidays that we have. And we try to explain sometimes to our bosses with the different Jewish holidays. It's, especially when in the fall they come all together, a few. It's hard to explain sometimes, Maybe if they're, a religious Christian, maybe they know from the Bible, you could show them, but otherwise, it's sometimes a difficult thing to explain, and often people are confused, they don't know about the different holidays. So, we're thankful we live in a free country here in America. Today's the 70th anniversary of VE Day, of when the war in Europe, World War II, ended. It's continued in the Pacific theater for a few more months. But it's when it ended in Europe, and prior to that, so many of the camps had already been liberated. Although that was a zenith in the horrors that our people experienced, it wasn't out of the ordinary. A lot of that was latent, building up, or even was open before that. So, the story goes, let's say 200 years ago, a Jew was walking along in Poland, and he accidentally brushes into an anti-Semite there, and it didn't take much. The fellow came and he beat this Jew up. The Jew, he got up after the beating, and the Jews had to live by their wits. So what did he do? He took a few kopecks, a few small coins, pennies out of his pocket. He gave it to him. He said, "Thank you so much, because you helped me celebrate my holiday today." He figured he didn't know about Jewish holidays. He could make up a story. He said, "This is a day that we have to be humble. So how could I be more humble than get beaten up? But I feel so bad. I'm a poor fellow. I don't have much to give you. These are a few kopecks, something. But there's a Mr. Goldberg down the street. He's a man of means. If you go help him celebrate the holiday, he'll really make it worth your while." So this fellow, he figured, Jews are crazy enough. But, if he's going to make a few dollars, what does it hurt him? He doesn't know what to do. So he goes and knocks on the door, this big palatial home for Poland. At that time, for sure, it was palatial. Maybe it was small for us today. And he said, "Can I see Mr. Goldberg?" And first the butler answers, and then a few other servants and a bodyguard. And finally, Mr. Goldberg came out himself. And this fellow, he went back, and he's about to punch him. But before he could reach, all of his bodyguards and butlers and all took care of this fellow. He got what he deserved for beating up the Jew to begin with. So then he's cursing himself and cursing that Jew who sent him there. He said, "Look what he did. What a wise guy that first Jew was. He sent me to the home of a Jew who doesn't know anything about Judaism, doesn't keep any of the holidays." The thing is, all right, we have to try to keep, people think it's hard, that you're missing out. You're missing a day of work. You're going to miss out on something. The thing is, we don't understand who runs the world. We could compare this to a story. There was a fellow, he was an alcoholic, and his wife sued for divorce, and the judge was granting her the divorce. And the husband showed up drunk to the court case also. And the judge made the declaration of divorce and also said that the husband had to pay $150. He said, the court is granting her $150 a week alimony. So then the husband, he went up to the judge and said, "Your Honor, thank you so much. I'll try to give a little myself too." We think that things come in on our own, and we think that things are taken away from us for whatever reason. We don't understand. Really, all of the Shabbos and holidays and everything, we don't lose anything by keeping. We gain so much. This Shabbos, since we read about all the holidays, it happened that the people would try to be, if they couldn't spend the holidays with their rabbi who they looked up to, and they considered themselves a student of this rabbi, they wanted to spend the holidays there, but they lived far away, they would try at least to come this week, because we study about the holidays, or another week, there are other times when we read about the holidays, to spend the holidays there, because it's as if they spent all the holidays there, because we're learning about this. How do we know about the holidays? Because we read in the Torah. It's not only that, to spend Shabbos, it's a tremendous rectification of the soul. Yesterday was one of our minor holidays that has become a big deal in recent years. It was Lag Bomer. And Lag Bomer in Israel is the biggest Jewish pilgrimage and the biggest Jewish party and celebration in the world on Lag Bomer, to go to the grave of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and it's such a celebration. I was there once. Some rabbis occasionally question this. What are we making a new holiday? Lag Bomer, never heard it. It was never a big holiday until a few hundred years ago. It's relatively new, a few hundred years. So Chassam Sofer, Rabbi Moses Sofer, was the chief rabbi of Pressburg. He was one of the greatest leaders in his generation and among the generations. And he said, he doesn't understand why they're making this big holiday. Years later, the Satmar Rebbe, who considered himself a devotee of so much of what the Chassam Sofer taught, he said, no, if the Chassam Sofer, if Rabbi Moses Sofer was there in Meron one time, he would understand how great it is, and he wouldn't have fought against it so much. Sometimes being there is half the thing. Rabbi Shimon in the Zohar, in the Talmud, generally, a statement is often predicated with two words in Aramaic, Toshama. Come and listen to this. In the Zohar, the Aramaic idiom is Tachazi, come and see. The chief rabbi of Baghdad 100 years ago was the Ben Ish Chai, Rabbi Yosef Chaim. And he said, why is it like that? In the Babylonian Talmud it says, come and listen. And in the Zohar, which Rabbi Shimon, he lived in the Holy Land, he said, come and see. He said, because the sages tell us that when you hear something, it's not the same as when you see it, when you experience it. You can read a book, but when you're there and you see it, when you're there in the Holy Land, that experience of seeing something, because the Talmud, the Babylonian Talmud, was written in Babylonia, which is now Iraq, but the Zohar was from the Holy Land. So it was an experience of seeing, a first-hand experience. And that's what we experience when we go. We can read things in a book, but we can't really understand it unless we sit down and we experience it. That's the tremendous aspect of what we accomplish when we have tonight the Oneg Shabbat. We're doing big things. When we eat the foods, we say the blessings, we make tremendous rectifications. Yesterday was Lag Bomer. Today was the yahrzeit of Rabbi Mendel of Rimanov. He was a rabbi in Poland, Rabbi Mendel of Rimanov. I heard the story from a Jew he lives in Brooklyn, Rabbi Kornreich, and he was born in Auschwitz-Zien. Auschwitz-Zien is a town in Poland near the border of Germany. It's known by a different name, Auschwitz, generally the German name. But it used to be a Jewish town, Auschwitz-Zien. It was a beautiful community years ago. And this Rabbi Kornreich, he was born there, and he said that a tradition went back decades before him, going back generations before him. He's already an older man, a survivor himself. And he said that 1 week, eating fish on Shabbos is considered to be a very great thing. Why? Because the one thing is that it's an easy thing to eat kosher-wise, to eat fish. It's much cheaper to have kosher fish than to have kosher meat. But also because the fish there's so many teachings about the holiness of the fish. Those in the Kabbalists who teach about reincarnation say that if a person is particularly a good person and he only has a few small things to fix, he might be reincarnated as a fish. And so it's interesting, the Jewish approach to reincarnation is the exact opposite of that which you would find in India among the Hindu and the Buddhist cultures. Because the Hindus say they don't eat a cow because that cow was a reincarnation of a person, so we don't want to eat it. We say just the opposite. When we eat the animal that was in the proper way, we help the soul to be elevated and then to go to heaven, because we believe that reincarnation is just a step in the process to eventually getting to heaven. Those who believe in it. It's a controversial belief in Judaism. Not everyone agrees to it, but in general, it's been generally accepted to be a belief in Judaism of reincarnation. Not universally accepted, but generally accepted, and we find it in the Zohar. But that's the idea behind it, is that it's an opportunity. So when we eat food on Shabbos, there could be a soul reincarnated in that animal or that fish, or even in the plants that were used to make the food, that has an elevation of their soul due to that. So the story goes that one week in Auschwitzin, there was a river that goes through Auschwitzin, and they could not catch any fish for Shabbos, and they didn't know what to do. So they decided they're going to take a big net and trawl the river, try to catch whatever they can, so everyone could at least have a small morsel of fish for Shabbos. They didn't know what to do. There was this humongous fish, would have been enough for the whole town, to have at least a small piece from that big fish. But the fish was wild, and they couldn't catch him. It was jumping over the net, and they didn't know what to do. Finally, they caught the fish, and the fish screamed out, "Let me go! I need to go to Rimonov. I need to be by Reb Mendele for Shabbos. I can't be here." And they let him go, and the fish was caught in Rimonov, in another town, and it was brought, the story passed by, and that fish was brought to the rabbi there, so he should eat it, because it needed a special rectification. We might not all be Reb Mendele Rimanover, but we can still make rectifications when we eat on Shabbos, or even during the week. But for sure on Shabbos, when we say our blessings that we learn in our Hebrew school, when we say these things, we don't understand what we're doing. We think it's a small little thing. It's really something very, very tremendous. And through that, we can lift ourselves up, and we can make every day into an opportunity to, just like those holidays or times in the year, and every holiday, just like I say often, we come to the synagogue, but what's important is what we bring home from the synagogue. We have those periods in time that are our holidays, but we have to bring something home for the rest of the year. That's what it says in our liturgy, that we ask God to bestow upon us the blessings of the holidays, because each holiday has its message, has its particular blessings. We're coming up, we just had Lag Bomer. Lag Bomer, according to some traditions, is the day when the manna started to fall in the desert. The Zohar actually makes a comparison to what we have with counting the Omer, which was a barley offering, which seems like something lowly is feed to animals, and the heights of the manna that came from heaven and how it comes together. It says in the Talmud that the manna, that the Torah was only given to the people who ate the manna, that by eating the manna, their souls became rectified, that they could receive the Torah. And actually, a lot of the foods we eat on Shabbos remind us of the manna, covering the challah. Even the kugel on Shabbos often is said is supposed to resemble the manna. The manna was said to have the taste of every food in the world except for onions, and some people say radishes. So many people are careful to always eat onions, and also some people eat radishes as well. Every Shabbos, because they say the Shabbos food is like the manna, so it has everything except radishes and onions. So when you eat on Shabbos, you have everything. You have every delight, because it says we're supposed to have Oneg Shabbat. We're supposed to enjoy the Shabbos, so with every possible enjoyment. That's what this is about. That's what we experience. We're going now, the manna started to fall on Lag Bomer, and we started eating the manna. Down, we're counting down the last few days of the Omer. We have 2 weeks left until Shavuot, the holiday of Pentecost. Most people don't know about this holiday, but really the fact is, it's one of the greatest holidays. It's an easy holiday to keep. You know, the old Bubbas in Europe used to say, the old grandmothers used to say, Shavuos is the best holiday. Why? From the 3 pilgrim holidays. Because Pesach, you could eat wherever you want, but you can't eat whatever you want. Sukkot, because you can't eat chametz. Sukkot, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't eat wherever you want. You have to eat in the sukkah. But Shavuos, you can eat whatever you want, wherever you want. So it's an easy time to enjoy. There's customs to eat dairy foods, blintzes, and cheesecake, and cheese kreplach, and different things. But it's the day when we receive the Torah. That's what the Talmud tells us. And that's what we have in our liturgies, the day of the receiving of the Torah, when God gave the Ten Commandments, not only to Moses, but the Torah says clearly that everyone saw, everyone heard. That's a story you can't make up. It's not just someone alone in the woods hearing something in a cave, up on a mountain. The whole nation heard. It's a story you can't make up. So through that, that's the excitement of that day of Shavuos. In some communities I know, Shavuos is in some ways the biggest holiday with the most people coming. And this year we're it's talking about days off. And we're very lucky this year. It's Memorial Day weekend. It's a Sunday and Monday is Shavuos. We don't have to take the day off. We already have the day off. Let's enjoy that day of Shavuos. It's coming up soon. And be ready now. We're starting now. Let's have in mind when we have our Oneg Shabbat that it's like we're eating the manna, so we can get ready to receive the Torah on Mount Sinai and enjoy all of the holidays and everything and have it all in mind. And we can fix a lot of things, not only for other people, we can fix things for ourselves and bring big blessings in our life. Shabbos. All right, Hannah, you want to continue? Complete the...